Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, we may.
Thank you.
Comments. Yeah.
Well, having disposed of that, then I think we are ready to proceed with General Flynn. General, before we broke for tea, you had confirmed that the recommendations, you had addressed the question of whether or not the recommendations made by Lieutenant Colonel Singh as regards the security of the DPCI officers in Port Shepstone had been given effect to, and you had directed us to Captain Nuswa, now the ranks, Brigadier Nuswa.
Brigadier Nuswa was...
As the person you say was the provincial commander at the time.
That's
who,
correct.
According to General Sinona's report attached to General Musikidi's information note, is said to be the one to have suggested that the Port Shepstone offices may be used. And you had commented about how appropriate that was if it was based only on the fact that the officers have 2 strong rooms. So it was just to locate us in the statement. Staying then with General Musikidi's information note, and that is your annexure HFF4, starting at page 113. I picked up something that I would require clarity on and perhaps guidance. At paragraph 3 at page 117 of that information note, General Musikidi quotes the National Instruction 8 of 2017, and in particular paragraph 12, property dealt with by experts. Do you see that?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And then she quotes paragraphs 12, sub 2, sub A, and further down the page, towards the bottom of the page, she quotes paragraph 12, sub 2. Now, I would like you to go back to your annexure HFF2, as I have it on record, that is the National Instruction 8 of 2017.
That's correct, Commissioners.
And it would appear to be the same document that General Musigidi is referring to here.
That's correct, Commissioners.
I flip in that actual document to paragraph 12. And paragraph 12 will be found at page 97 of that document. 97. And under paragraph 12, the heading is different. It's vehicles. Do you see that?
That's correct, Commissioners.
General Musigidi quotes it as paragraph 12 as property dealt with by experts. However, if I flip back to paragraph 9, and that is at page 76, I locate in the exact terms as quoted by General Musigidi, in paragraph 9 at sub 2, what General Musigidi references. So the situation that we are confronted with is either you have put up a wrong document or you have put up a correct document, except there is perhaps a typographical error in General Musigidi's statement. For example, if you read paragraph 9, it reads, all property and exhibits seized must be entered into the SAP 13 register of the relevant police station where the crime was committed or where the property was found, and then transferred to the relevant unit and entered in this SAP as 13 of the relevant unit. It continues still under sub B, sub 2. The SAP as 13 registers of these units must be inspected regularly, and these instructions are applicable to those commanders. Do you see?
That's correct.
Now, if we go back then to General Musigidi, the exact same words that are quoted here, except that They are said to be in terms of paragraph 12.2a and paragraph 12.2. Now, if you were to go back to the vehicles, there is in fact paragraph 12 vehicles, there is no paragraph 12.2 for starters. How do we reconcile, how do you suggest we reconcile these seeming contradictions?
Commissioners, it is obvious that there was a typo in the report by General Mosekidi, where it's referred to 12. It's supposed to be paragraph 9. 2, there, as Advocate Celu indicated, there is no such 12.2. So it's supposed to be in totality referring to paragraph 9.2.
And you maintain that the National Instruction 8 of 2017 that you have annexed as Annexure HFF2 is the correct document?
That is the correct instruction, National Instruction, Commissioners, that's correct.
Okay.
Is it the one that was applicable when General Musikidi prepared her document?
I make that...
These things can undergo amendment and additions, so...
That would perhaps be a second question, because I'd made the assumption that it was, because General Musikidi quotes the actual name of the instruction note as National Instruction 8 of 2017. Yeah. If she was looking at a different document, then we have a situation where we have two National Instruction 8 of 2017.
Yeah. No, my question is slightly different. Is it possible that it's the same document, but because it's a living document, over time there were amendments made to it, but it remained National Instruction of, but it underwent amendments so that by 2021, what you see as paragraph 9 was in fact now paragraph 12.
It is possible, and perhaps General Flynn may cast some light on that. Did you understand the question, General?
I understand the question, Commissioners. I'm not aware of any amendments that were made, so I think the detail reflected here is indeed correct, but it's supposed to be reflected under 9.2.
All right.
As corrected.
And for completeness, Commissioner Khumalo, perhaps what we may do, we may request General Musikidi to clarify whether the annexure HFF2 that General Flynn has put up is the exact same document that she references here, or whether it was perhaps an amended version of it, of a prior date. We will look into that and revert. Thank you. Thank you, General. General Musikidi then considers both the report by General Senona and the letter by Lieutenant Colonel Singh in her information note. You confirm that?
That's correct, Commissioners.
And she concludes the report by making certain recommendations, and these start at page 119 of Annexure HFF1.
That's correct, Commissioners.
Now, I would like you, I guess for the record, there are 4 recommendations made. If perhaps you could read them into the record, and then we will consider what is set out therein. Thank you.
6.1, that the national head appoint a senior functionary at the level of a Major General to lead an investigation in terms of SAP's disciplinary regulations 2016 to establish whether misconduct was committed in the handling and storage of the exhibits. 6.2, that the senior functionary provides the outcome of the departmental investigation in terms of Regulation 8.1 of the SAP's Disciplinary Regulation 2016. 6.3, that an audit be done at all DPCI buildings and offices to check compliance with minimum information security standards. And 6.4, that the Provincial Head KwaZulu-Natal provides a progress report on the site inspection recommendations by Crime Intelligence during January 2020.
Thank you, General. Before we deal with other issues here, are you aware if any of these recommendations were given effect? My apologies. I'll restate that. I was saying before we deal with the remainder of that document, I would like to find out whether you, based on the position you occupy within DPCI, are aware of whether or not any of these recommendations were given effect to.
Commissioners, it is my understanding that no disciplinary steps were initiated against Major General Sonona or any of his subordinates. So that speaks then to obviously recommendation 6.1 and 6.2. I do not have knowledge in terms of the recommendations on 6.3 and 6.4 respectively, so I will not be in a position to respond to that, Commissioners.
What should we make of General Libia's, because he doesn't approve the recommendations, he says discuss paragraph 6.
That was the next step I was getting to. I just wanted to test with the general whether any of them were carried out. I do note the caution raised by General Libia. Now, as I read this document, if you go to 113, it is directed to the National Head Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation. And at the time, that was General Libia, correct?
That's correct, Commissioners.
And as Commissioner Khumalo has indicated, it is put to him to approve or not approve all of the 4 recommendations made. Do you see that?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Now, there is a note in manuscript there. Discuss paragraph 6, thank you. Now, I accept, and it's signed by Lieutenant General National Head, Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, SG Libya, and dated the 28th of January 2022. I accept that you wouldn't know whether or not General Libya and General Musikidi didn't discuss, as he had suggested.
That's correct, Commissioners.
I was more interested in whether or not in your environment you are aware of any of these recommendations having been carried out. And you have responded to that. So I get Commissioner Khumalo, this is a matter that General Libya is better placed to shed light on. Thank you. I'm particularly interested in recommendation 6.3, the wording thereof, which suggested that an audit be done on all DPCI buildings and offices to check compliance with MIS. Even outside the context of this document, which is where that is put up as a recommendation to General Libya, are you aware of an audit of these buildings ever having been undertaken?
Commissioners, as I've stated, I have no knowledge of recommendation 6.3 and 6.4 respectively, and I will not be able to comment on that.
No, General, my question is slightly different. Are you aware of any audit since the break-in at Port Shepstone of DPCI buildings and offices to check for compliance with MIS? Are you aware of that exercise at all?
I'm not aware of any such exercise, Commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioners, I think before I suggest wrongly, if we go back to your statement, that would then mean that we have covered, and I need you to confirm, your paragraph 66, 67, and 68. Do you confirm that we have covered what is raised in those paragraphs through the engagements we've had?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Okay. I know that after 68, you then make certain concluding remarks. I would invite you to deal with them, except I think that might be best done after you have dealt with your supplementary statement. So if we could pause that part of your statement and turn our attention instead to your supplementary statement that was admitted into evidence this morning. That should be located at the back of your file. And you indicate in this supplementary statement at paragraph 1 that you prepared this statement to deal with the analysis that you conducted, where you compared the events that transpired relating to 541 kilograms of cocaine seized since June 2021 and stolen from police custody in November 2021. And you do that comparison with other drug busts, seizures in Durban in the period 2020 to 2022, correct?
That's correct, Commissioners.
And that is the narrow view, perspective of this supplementary statement, that is its sole purpose. Am I correct?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Then if you could take us from paragraph 2 of your supplementary statement, which is where you deal with this analysis you conducted. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. In January 2026, I called for the inquiry files in respect of identified drug busts in Durban during 2020 to 2022 to see whether the 22 June 2021 seizure is evidence of a worrying pattern of irregularities or whether it is an anomaly. Perhaps my audit would reveal that additional training was required because this is a pattern of non-compliance with prescripts during seizures and that there is an innocent explanation for the irregularities. However, the subsequent theft of the 541 kilograms of cocaine made me very suspicious that the seizure irregularities were not the result of inadequate training. Commissioners, it's explained in detail in the following paragraph, so I can perhaps deal with the incidents and then perhaps go back to the column if that's needed. The summary.
I'm happy with the approach. So then we'll turn our attention to paragraph 4 of your statement at page 2. And that's where you deal with the first seizure, correct?
That's correct, Commissioners. On the 5th of February 2020, members of the DPCI, Durban Serious Organised Crime Investigation Unit, were summoned to a crime scene at the CHC depot in Prospecton, Durban, where SARS Customs detected a consignment of suspected mandrax. The suspected mandrax was hidden in a container that was offloaded from a vessel that originated from China. The crime scene was properly dealt with in terms of crime scene management principles. The exhibits were photographed, weighed, and sealed in forensic evidence bags. The mass of the suspected mandrax was 547 kilograms. The exhibits were booked in at Isipingo SAPS under a reference number, and then the exhibits were submitted to the main forensic science laboratory in Silverton on 12 November 2021. FSL confirmed that the exhibits were mandrax and the case was investigated by Durban under a certain reference number.
Before we proceed to the next case, do we know whether there's been an outcome on this matter or are investigations ongoing?
Up to date, there's been no significant breakthrough on this matter, Commissioners, but we are looking into the matter again.
Thank you. Then I think you can turn to paragraph 5, which is...
Sorry, before you do.
Yes.
So this is an operation in 2020. What would have happened to the drugs that were seized as at today? What happened?
Commissioner Baloy, this is also the matter that I spoke to yesterday, the mandrax seizure, the 547
Yes.
that went to Isipingo. So as I've indicated, upon closure of the inquiry, Forensic Science Laboratory are informed of the outcome of the investigation and they then have the responsibility to dispose of the exhibits. So the current status of the mandrax, I do not have any knowledge of.
But ordinarily it would It would be where? If you say the investigation is still ongoing?
Obviously, we, after I summoned or requested these inquiries, we've looked into it, identified aspects that need further investigation. So that's why we are continuing with the investigation part.
Okay.
But once narcotics specifically is handed or submitted to the Forensic Science Laboratory, it's never returned to a SAP 13 facility.
Okay.
It is kept at Forensic Science Laboratory until the matter is finalized and then disposed of.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy and General Flynn. So would it be correct then to conclude, because you don't say otherwise, as to where the main drugs is it a correct expectation that it should be with the FSL in Silverton, where it was delivered on the 12th of November 2021?
If it's not already disposed of,
Accept
supposed
that.
to be there, Commissioner.
And would I be correct to say that what becomes of the seized drugs is regulated in terms of your annexure HFF3 from page 103? Would I be correct? And in particular, I guess I'm interested in page 111, paragraph 5.12, which deals with disposition/destruction of illicit drugs.
That's correct, Commissioners. This is the correct protocol that I've been referring to.
Okay. Thank you. So then we may move on to your paragraph 5.
On 8 May 2020, members of the DPCI Durban Serious Organised Crime Investigation Unit followed up on information in relation to a container that was already offloaded from the vessel Polonia that originated from the Port of Santos in Brazil. Upon further investigation, 35 kilogram bricks of suspected cocaine was recovered from a container. The cocaine had the logos Nautica, BMW, MTA, Z and H on the wrappings. The crime scene was properly dealt with in terms of crime scene management principles. The exhibits were photographed and sealed in forensic evidence bags. The mass of the suspected cocaine was 35 kilograms. The exhibits were booked in at Maiden Wharf SAP 30 SAPS under a specific reference number. The exhibits were submitted to the Forensic Science Laboratory in Amanzimtoti on 21 May 2020. FSL confirmed that the exhibits are cocaine. The case was investigated under a reference number of Durban Soki. Commissioners, perhaps at this point in time, I should indicate that in this list, there was 3 cases where the exhibits was submitted to FSL in Amanzimtoti. And the reason for that is that you will observe that the mass of these exhibits is much lesser than the bulk seizures that was ultimately submitted to FSL in Silverton.